ultimate goal. We're just going to do a quick introduction, everyone. So my name is admin TDot. I'm from Toronto. My favorite team is the Toronto Raptors.
I'm Boston. I'm from Boston, and I'm a huge Celtics fan.
So I've been Sportsguyrich from Nashville, Tennessee, and my favorite team is the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yo, it's Dougie from Australia. I'm a Bull fan. G'day, mate.
Alright, I'm LKB, I'm from South Florida, and I've been a Heat fan since birth.
I'm Greek Freek. I'm from Athens, Greece. I'm a big Knicks fan.
Okay.
Awesome. That was awesome, guys. Okay. So we're gonna introduce some topics, and we're gonna start off with the Rondo trade rumor. So I think since it's about the Boston Celtics, why not start off with Boston? So do you want to give us your take on the whole Rondo trade rumor, how he requested a trade?
I don't know. I think he really wants to leave Boston. It's kind of my thing here. He's really not happy because he's better when he's playing with people that are like Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, for instance. He could help them. They helped him, that kind of thing. But I mean, he's not one to go like Derrick Rose and put up 15, 20 points a game, and with the assists, he's more of an assist-first point guard, and that's difficult with young guys and not a lot of talent, you know? What do you guys think?
Sports guy Rich, what do you think about it?
I think that he needs to leave because he's not a good fit with what they have going on.
Agreed.
Like, they don't have any three-point shooting. They just have it, oh my gosh, the Celtics going to be so bad this year. Well, who'd they sign this offseason? Evan Turner.
It's not a bad signing.
Avery Bradley.
Oh yeah, that was nice. Although they kind of overpaid for him.
I agree on that.
Yeah, they got Evan Turner for cheap though, but they just don't have any consistent three-point shooting makers, and plus they're in the luxury tax right now, which is not good at all considering what their record was going to look like next year.
Yeah, exactly.
LKB, what do you think about the Rondo trade rumor and how he requested a trade? And do you believe it?
Do I believe it? Not really, but I think that they will either trade him or let him walk in free agency, which I think he should go to Sacramento, because why not? Next.
But they can't afford him though.
But Sacramento's a really good trade partner because they could get Ben McLemore, maybe a few Nick Staskis, and maybe a few picks off it. And Sacramento really wanted Rondo last year. He just didn't want to re-sign with them. There was a trade in place. They would get Isaiah Thomas, McLemore, a future first-round pick for Rondo. The only reason that didn't go through is because Rondo wasn't going to re-sign with them. I think that's a really good trade for both sides.
And they have to trade for him to get him.
That's true.
Yeah.
They'll team up with DeMarcus Cousins, both of them out of Kentucky.
And Rudy Gay, who Rondo's really good friends with.
And we can also note that we also drafted Marcus Smart this year. So, I mean...
He's kind of Rondo's replacement. I don't believe the hype that they're going to use him together. I think that's just them covering up. Okay,
yeah.
Greek Freak, what do you think about it?
I think he should be traded. Probably to the Knicks or the Kings. He would be a great fit.
I think it would be a great fit for the Knicks. I just don't think they have anything to offer. To be honest,
That's true.
I don't think the Celtics want Amari Stoudemire, Iman Shumpert. Yeah.
Too many issues.
Incredibly Junior.
They could afford him in free agency when Stat's contract runs out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He could. I would not be surprised at all if he signed there next summer.
He likes Melo. Melo likes him. I know he loves the city of New York. He spends a lot of time there.
In my opinion, he's gone. And I don't really see the point of him being traded to Sacramento. He's not going to re-sign there. So he'll probably leave in free agency and go to the Knicks.
Okay, I think I'll have the last word. I don't believe a word. Rondo, since the day he came to the Boston Celtics, every year is in the trade rumor. Every year.
That is true.
Gasol, oh, he's going to Houston. Oh, he's getting traded to New York. Oh, the Lakers want him. Oh, Oklahoma City wants him. I will never believe trade rumor for Rondo until I see it. I love Rondo. He's one of my favorite players. I look at it this way. Boston needs a guy to build around. I think he has the talent to be a 20-plus scorer. He doesn't have the mindset. If you can give him the mindset, he has the talent. We've seen him in the playoffs go against some of the best defenses in the NBA, the Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat, and put up 20 points, 10 assists, 8 rebounds on a nightly basis and dominate and close down the stretch. He's also an elite defender. Rondo has the talent to be a franchise player. He just doesn't have the mindset. So should they trade him? I don't think so. But if they did, I think a really good partner would be Minnesota. Why not Pekovic, Ricky Rubio, and maybe Boston says Rondo, Sullinger, and a few picks? I like that trade.
Sounds like you been working on that for a long time.
I have an issue with Rondo being in the trade rumor because I never see him traded, and he's always in the trade rumor.
Yeah.
Never
I would also
rebuilding
like to just
like
throw.
this, though.
That's true. They traded away. I never thought they would trade Paul Pierce, and they did. So who knows? They might just trade Rondo.
I also want to throw in the fact that when the trade rumor was reported by ESPN, what is it? They went on to say that Rondo told the Sacramento Kings that since they're interested in signing him, that he wouldn't re-sign with them, and how do I put this? With Marcus Smart being drafted and all this trade talk about Rondo, all the trade talk before, I mean, you didn't have anyone else that could play point guard. You couldn't move Avery Bradley down to the one. I mean, there was all just harmless talks. But now that they have Marcus Smart, they have someone that can replace him. I feel like now would be a good time for Rondo to move. And it is kind of hard to make him to build around him when he needs people around him to be the best, to be his top form. He needs to have other people around him,
Also, I think Marcus Smart is just a better fit for what Brad Stevens as a coach wants to run in their system. Rondo isn't a great shooter. I'm not saying Smart isn't. Rondo's improved his mid-range, but just what Brad Stevens is a huge guy in defense. He just loves hustle players. Now, Rondo is a good defensive player, but he doesn't play defense unless he wants to, and he doesn't show up unless it's an advertised game or a playoff game. Versus Marcus Smart, we even saw him going against Team USA. A lot of players hated Marcus Smart because he would go on every play and never give 100% every play, always playing crazy defense. I just think Brad Stevens loves those type of guys. I don't think Rondo's a fit for Brad Stevens.
Agreed.
Okay, let's go to our next topic. So our second topic is the Kevin Love trade. And the guy I think who's talked the most about it on our post or our page was Sportsguyrich. So I want your opinion on Kevin Love's trade, what Minnesota got out of it, and what's the future for both teams.
Well, obviously Minnesota will be the worst team in the West next year, but long term, I like what they got back. I feel like Anthony Bennett's going to be better than. Well, I mean, he can't be much worse than he was last year, obviously, but I think he's going to have a pretty good season coming off the bench for them. I like Thaddeus Young a lot. He'll help them, but and then of course Andrew Wiggins, who has all the potential in the world, but that's all it is right now. It's just potential. I don't think he's got much of a chance to win Rookie of the Year, but he could easily end up being the best player out of this draft class and definitely be a perennial all-star. And from Cleveland's perspective, obviously he helps their chances of winning the title dramatically. And his beautiful outlet passes to LeBron and Kyrie and Deion Waiters. It's going to be very nice in Cleveland next year. I think they'll definitely win the East and give whoever wins the West a tough series.
The Spurs.
Probably the Spurs. But we'll get into that later.
Yeah. What do you think, LKB?
I agree with pretty much everything Rich said, except I think the Sixers getting rid of Thaddeus Young is very underrated because they have a squad of young talent and they have a lot of cap space. So watch out for the Sixers the next few seasons.
Yeah, they've got about 30 million cap space right now, a little over 30 million.
What I think about the Kevin Love trade is I like the trade, to be honest. I just think Kevin Love's a great fit. I do think his numbers overall will go down dramatically. I just think with LeBron being around him, and he's such a dominant scorer, we already know Kyrie Irving doesn't really play defense, he just scores. And Deion Waiters the same thing. I think all of his overall numbers will go down. Shit, we gotta edit that out. Okay, we'll edit that out, but let's go from here. 1, 2, 3. So what I think about the Kevin Love trade is I love it. I think Kevin Love's a great fit. He provides some three-point shooting. He's a great rebounder. I do think he can improve on his defense, especially in Miami. is paired up against Bulls or the Spurs, he's going to be guarding Tim Duncan, and he's going to be guarding Taj Gibson or Pau Gasol. I just don't think he has the defensive ability to handle those guys, so I think he really needs to improve on defense, or they might play small with him in the center and LeBron at the power forward. As far as Minnesota, though,
Shut your phone off.
Okay, hold on, I'm going to do this again. One more time to edit the shit out.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Okay, let's start again. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, I personally love the Minnesota trade because I think Kevin Love just adds another piece to the already stacked Cleveland team. I still think they need to improve on their bench. I don't think that Tristan Thompson could be your number one scorer off the bench. I think Dion Waiters will probably start next to Kyrie with LeBron at the 3, Kevin Love at the 4, and Anderson Varejao at the 5. I think they will play some small ball, but I would not trust Kevin Love guarding Tim Duncan or Taj Gibson or Pau Gasol. I think that's just a horrible matchup for him, and they will abuse him. They will make him look pedestrian. I also think that team has no shot blocking whatsoever, and if you think LeBron's your number one shot blocker, you have a huge issue. I also think that one of the biggest issues that people aren't realizing with Cleveland is their bench. I just don't think they have a deep enough bench to make a deep playoff run. They really need guys to come off the bench and be key contributors, and I thought Anthony Bennett, Andrew Wiggins, players like that gave him that opportunity or that potential. Also, I look at it this way. Some of the best teams in history, like the Spurs, had a superstar in David Robinson, and they had a young potential superstar in Tim Duncan. I think LeBron's leadership would have made Andrew Wiggins a special player. I think LeBron is just one of those guys that when he gets going and he gets you under his belt, he's going to make you a special player. However, as a Raptors fan, I love the idea of Andrew Wiggins in Minnesota because I don't think he's going to stay. I think he's gone in 3 or 4 years, and we all know that Andrew Wiggins, since he's a little kid, wants to play for the Toronto Raptors. So that's just a possibility.
I don't know if he could leave after 3 years because he'll be restricted, but it'll probably be 6 or 7 years before he'll have an opportunity to leave Minnesota.
Well, if he's really unhappy, you can just sign the qualifying offers, and I think he'll be free in 4 years.
Well, trade didn't happen, so doesn't bother me. But I think Kevin Love's a good fit for the Cavs. He stretches the floor. He adds more three-point shooting. Defensively, he's not great. He'll get dominated by Powell, Taj, Tim Duncan, hell, even Bosch. But on the Timberwolves side, can you just imagine Rubio throwing lobs to Levine and Wiggins? Now that's entertainment.
That is true.
So Zach LaVine's not going to do much in his rookie year. I don't think people understand how raw this guy is. Like, he was pretty bad his freshman year at UCLA. He's got all the physical tools in the world to be good down the road, but I wouldn't even be surprised if he plays in the D League some next year.
He looks more of he's a dreamer. He has all the talent. He's more of an athlete than a basketball player. He's an athlete, and he wanted to be a great basketball player. I just noticed he has the work ethic to be a great player. Because I remember when he got drafted, I swear it looked like he said, "Why the hell did I get drafted by Timberwolves?" I don't think he's excited, and I just don't see the work ethic or the hard determination to be a great player. I think I just don't think he will.
If I can lip read, I'm pretty sure he said F me.
It's all speculation, but yeah, he's very raw, so it's going to be a few years before he's going to make much noise.
But I would like to see him in the dunk contest this year, and if he's not in it, I'll cry.
I agree. He needs to be in the dunk contest. That'll be amazing. Him and Andrew Wiggins both need to be in it.
He should have stayed in college for another year.
He should have. I agree. He needed the time, and he would have been one of the focal points on that team.
I feel like he needs to add more muscle. He looks very skinny.
Yep, I agree.
That's a common thing, though, is people getting out of college too early, not maturing and just going straight to the NBA.
Okay.
Next topic.
Greek Freak. What is your opinion on the whole Love trade?
Catch that.
I believe it's a great trade for both sides. Minnesota will have a very athletic team this year, and Kevin Love will be a great fit for Cleveland. Even if he can start the power force like Ibaka, Duncan, Gasol, but it's a great trade for both sides.
I agree. Okay, next topic. Okay, so our next topic we're going to talk about is Ray Allen. the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. He beat the NBA in most 3-point shots made, even though I think Steph Curry will surpass him one day. So Ray Allen, a lot of rumors have been speculating that he's either considering retirement or that he's going to sign with someone. The most logical teams, he's like the Cleveland Cavaliers, just his relationship with LeBron James. But there are rumors that the Atlanta Clippers and his relationship with Doc Rivers are interested, as well as that the Washington Wizards have shown interest. And ironically, the Washington Wizards signed Paul Pierce this year. So it'd be kind of cool to see Pierce and Allen kind of get back together, since there's a lot of talent out there. It's possible. So I'm gonna ask first. I'm just gonna
Also,
go. Okay.
also, rumor has it the Bulls are interested now.
So the
Yeah.
also, okay.
Also,
came out today.
also the Spurs.
Also the
Yes,
Spurs,
those
right?
two.
Bulls and the Spurs. So since he's a Miami Heat last, but I go with LKB and ask his opinion first.
That's so kind of you. Okay. Realistically speaking, if he does come back, it'll probably be with the Cavaliers. That's probably where I think he'll go. But
Simply for a championship.
obviously, yeah, I don't want him to go there. But that's probably where he'll go. He'll probably come off the bench, since we've touched on before that they need bench scoring. There you go.
Okay, since he was former Boston Celtics, let's ask Boston. What's your opinion?
Personally, I side with LKB when he says it, that he would go to Cleveland because, I mean, he's old, he's just a bench player at this point. I think he just wants a ring, and that's what every player wants. So, if he were to go to a team, I'd say definitely Cleveland. From there on, I'd say, I don't like him because of the whole thing with Boston. I mean, he's a good player, but he just not a fan of him as much anymore. Yeah, I say Cleveland. How about you, Sports Guy Rich?
Well, some of you may have read, I made a post talking about this a couple of days ago. I think he should sign with San Antonio.
I agree.
Like it makes the most sense because that gives him his best chance of winning a ring, and they also can offer him more money, like significantly more money than all of the other shooters. But in the end, it's probably going to be Cleveland, just because he loves playing with LeBron, and you can't really blame him for that.
Okay, well, what I think, and this is my honest opinion, I think he should go to the Spurs. I just think the Spurs are just the best place for him. I think with him, Marco Bellinelli, and Manu Ginobili on the floor at once is a deadly combo. And Danny Green, that's a lot of 3-point shooters, and it's just going to bother defenses a lot. Also, I just think with Ray Allen's age, he's not
And Patty Mills.
And Patty Mills. With a lot of players at his age, and he's 38, I think 39, I don't think he should be really getting significant numbers. Really, I would just put him in a crunch time or when you really need some 3-point shooting. Another team I like to throw out that I think makes a lot of sense is the Oklahoma City Thunder. I've always said the Oklahoma City Thunder are cheap. They're just a cheap team that people won't agree with. They've been so cheap because they didn't want to sign James Harden, but they would rather keep Kendrick Perkins and not amnesty him, which I don't get. They always go for cheap free agents, so why not go with Ray Allen? I think
Can't afford him.
I think they could do something. They should work something around because I think with him in the fourth quarter, with Kevin Durant and him on the floor at the same time, that's a deadly combo. But I don't think it's going to happen. So I think the most logical choice would be the Spurs. I think Cleveland would be nice. I just don't see how he fits in that well with that system. Also, I think he'll only play during crunch time because they have a young bench. They have some young players, and I think they should play over Ray Allen. But he would be a great mentor to that locker room.
I think Perkins is a little bit underrated, to go on what you say. He's
terrible.
I think when he was with Boston, he was one of those dominant defensive centers in the league. He played so well against Dwight Howard and really bothered him. I just think he's past that point, and OKC only keeps him for his leadership, and that's the only reason he's there. I think Steven Adams is obviously going to overtake him and start this year with the Bakken. I think they should just cut him and use that money for some good players. Because Kevin Durant is going to leave in 2 years. I just think it's going to happen. I don't see him staying, and neither do I see Westbrook staying, because this team had an opportunity to be one of the greatest teams of all time with the combination of Ibaka, Harden, Westbrook, and KD, and they gave that up because they didn't want to pay James Harden.
While we're talking about the Thunder, they have serious depth issues last year.
I agree, and they still haven't addressed them at all.
Yeah, that were not addressed at all. They signed Anthony Morrow, but I guess he'll probably start.
He will.
Did they lose Ron Butler?
Yeah,
Yep.
they lost Karan Butler.
And Tabo
which
Cephalosha.
obviously
And Tom
lost Cephalosha. So they're probably even thinner than they were last year.
and Reggie
So-
Jackson is a contract here.
I don't think
Yeah,
he's coming back.
he'll be a restricted free agent though, but they
He'll
probably
be
won't.
gone.
They
He'll
can't
be
afford him probably. For what he'll probably get like 4 years, 32, like the Avery Bradley contract, and they can't sign him for that. It would put him way up in the luxury tax.
You don't want to start.
Yep, I agree. He should be starting. I think Westbrook should play the 2, and I think Reggie's just a better number 1. Okay, now let's try to stay on topic. The Bulls fan, what do you think about Ray Allen?
Well, in my opinion, I think he's signed with the Spurs because that ball movement, he's on, there's so many open looks, and they're so dominant. They just find a way to win. But, you know, he'll probably sign with Cleveland because, you know, it's Cleveland. And, yeah.
Okay, so let's just go to our final topic. This is the last one for the day. Finals predictions, and what do you guys think? So I'm just going to go with the guy who predicted the finals accurately. We all at NBA Go Up made our finals prediction, and only one admin was right, and everyone called him crazy, and he predicted the Spurs in 5. And so, Boston, what are your finals predictions for this year? And I want honest opinions, no joke.
Okay. Honestly, I give it that Cleveland gets in the finals. Their team with their starting 5 alone, they have a lot of power. They're a dominant force in the league. Depending on health, I mean, if everyone stays healthy, I definitely give it to Cleveland. And honestly, I think the Spurs could make it back in. That they're a very resilient team. They could make it. I say Spurs Cavs final, and the winner from there. That's just too much to debate at one point right now. That'd have to be a really, really deep topic you have to analyze. How about you guys?
Also, just to clarify, this is a really, really early finals prediction. This will change over the
Yeah, oh
years.
yeah,
Now
definitely.
let's go to the losing side, and let's ask LKB, our resident Heat fan, who do you think is going to be in the finals this year?
That was a really bad intro that you gave me. I'm gonna actually go out on a limb and say, with Donald Sterling gone, I think the Clippers have what it takes to finally make the finals. With Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, a much deeper bench in my opinion. They just signed Udo and Chris Douglas Roberts. Pretty much all their free agents are coming back. They got Spencer Hawes. I mean, they're stacked. So I see them going to the finals over the Spurs. And in the East, it comes down to Cleveland, the Heat, and the Bulls. With Derrick Rose and the whole Bulls healthy, I could honestly see them get there. But, I mean, it's LeBron James. So I'm just going to go with Cleveland. And there you go.
I really like the Clippers pick. That was a really good analysis. I think that was just awesome. Okay, let's go to our number 1 sports guy who pretty much has an opinion on everything, Sportsguyrich.
All right, so obviously it's September 7th, so I don't feel very confident about this. But I've got Cleveland winning the East, and I've got the Spurs winning the West, which I don't feel good about that at all because they haven't repeated in the Popovich-Duncan era, so obviously there's going to be some sort of fallout with them. They're not going to be as good as they were last year. They just won't have the same hunger and drive that they had all year last year. But I easily see the Clippers beating them, and I could easily see the Thunder beating them in a playoff series with a healthy Ibaka. But right now, you just can't pick against the Spurs. Like, they made everybody look stupid for so long when you pick against them. So you just gotta roll with Cavs, Spurs. Finals with the Spurs winning in 6 games.
Okay, Dougie, what's your prediction?
Alright, well, in the East, I can't really call it. It's 50-50. I have to see how they play first. I just can't tell. But I'm going to be biased to say the Bulls anyways. Yeah. But in the West, I can see the Clippers or Spurs making it. And Spurs in 4.
Wow, that's so you're picking your Bulls to lose in 4 games?
Who said we're making it? It's 50-50 right now. I don't know who's making the finals in the East.
That's true. Okay, I'll just finish it off. I love Derrick Rose. I think the Bulls have a great team, but I've said this multiple times. I just don't trust Derrick Rose in his knees.
That's
Yeah,
true.
he's
Same.
playing well in FIBA right now, but he also played
He's
well.
not playing well in FIBA. Are you blind? Have you seen him? He's playing terrible.
Horrible. Yeah,
He's playing
been
horrible.
He's been pretty bad.
He's kind of like in the preseason. He showed glimpses of what he was. He isn't playing great, but when the regular season started, he struggled and unfortunately had a knee injury again.
No, before he got the knee injury, he was on the cusp of getting back to his old self, but he just got injured again.
It was horrible, and it just sucks. I just don't trust his teams. So I'm gonna have to go. Like, I would love to say the Toronto Raptors. I just don't think they're there unless Valanciunas takes a massive step, which I think they'll, but not that massive. I'm gonna have to go with the Cavs. I just think the East is weak again. LeBron James is just another human. He's just on another level in the playoffs. You got that with a young Kyrie Irving, who we've seen close out games, is just getting better. I think Deion Waiters is due for a big year. I think Kevin Love's three-point experience, his clutch shooting, and his rebounding will be huge. And I think Kevin Love does need some playoff experience. And I just like the bench. I just like some of the young players that they have. And I do really question, though, the coach. I think that's one of the biggest question marks that people are not talking about is the new coach they have. He's a rookie coach, and he's never coached an NBA game. You just can't never coach an NBA and expect to be great in the finals. I think that's going to be a huge downside. But then we've seen LeBron take Mike, what's his name? Mike Brown, who I think is a horrible coach to the NBA finals. So
yeah, he won 66 games. Mike Brown is his head coach.
Yep.
About that coach, it's his name is David Blatt, right? I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
He coached in the EuroLeague, I think, where he bought, I think, a championship to Tel Aviv, right?
Yeah, he was one of the most successful European coaches ever. I don't think he's that big of a question mark. You saw Jeff Hornacek this year, who had never coached before, take a 20-win team to almost making the playoffs in the West with the same roster.
But Jeff Hornacek is part of he's had some NBA experience. Like he knows NBA players. Yeah, and he also did college for a little bit. This guy's never done anything American, not even college basketball. So there's a question mark. Now for the West, I really like the Clippers. I agree with that, KB. I think I just think from top to bottom, their starting five is great. They have Chris Paul, who I love. They have JJ Redick. I also like DeAndre Jordan. I think Blake Griffin was just phenomenal last year in the playoffs. People did not talk about him enough.
He was inconsistent. He was inconsistent in the playoffs.
He was, but
all year in the regular season.
I agree with that, but there were times where I just saw superstar, and then there was times like, what is he doing? I think he'll get better. I think Chris Paul is the best point guard in the NBA. Even though I just don't think, I don't think he's the same player in the playoffs. Sometimes he shows up. Sometimes he does some real bad things.
He stepped it up in the playoffs
this year. He played well. I agree, but in the past he hasn't had the greatest success. I also like the addition of Spencer Hawes, Epic Udo. They needed another big to kind of play some defense, shot blocking, rebounding. That's really what he is. Spencer Hawes, I think, is huge. I just don't think people realize how underrated Spencer Hawes is as a player. He can do. He's not the greatest defensive player, but he's a good rebounder and great scoring overall.
He's a stretch five.
He's a stretch five, and also Doc Rivers is still one of the best coaches in the NBA. Last time I checked. And they have a stacked bench. They also have Matt Barnes. I still think they have him.
Jamal Crawford,
ratings. He's a Sixth Man of the Year candidate every year, and he just plays phenomenal. I just don't see any team that has the depth to beat them other than the Spurs. I think OKC has huge depth issues. I think the Golden State Warriors just don't have that second guy who could take over a game. And they did not trade for Kevin Love, which I was shocked this year. I like Klay Thompson, but I would take Kevin Love any day over Klay Thompson. And I don't see anyone else in the West. I think Portland has a chance, but they don't play defense.
One thing I want to say though about the Golden State thing is that it would be much better to have Kevin Love over Klay Thompson, but it's also
he's a better fit.
He's a better fit, but I mean it's also about team chemistry. I mean,
that's true.
Think of it this way: the Boston Celtics in 2008. I mean, we had Wally Zerbiak, we had Leon Poe. We weren't the A+ team with the most depth and the most superstars. We were old, we were rickety, but we still won because we played well together.
Sam Cassell. Don't forget Sam Cassell.
Mr. Alien looking dude.
Yeah, well, they played well together. Chemistry is also a really, really big thing to consider when it comes to teams making a deep run in the playoffs. And I mean, Golden State, I mean, Klay Thompson, his teammates loved him. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that the coach was told multiple times when the rumors came up about Kevin Love to Golden State. Everyone just kind of said no, like, we play well with him. It's all about how well they play together and honestly how well they fit together in order to win a title.
I think people underrated his defense. I understand Iguodala's there, but Iguodala always covers the threes, right? I think he most of the time covers the team's number one. Like he more than likely will be covering Chris Paul. It won't be Steph Curry. Steph Curry is really a huge liability on defense. Also, I think I think he still has a lot of potential. He has still a lot to grow. I think Klay Thompson could become a better player over time. I don't agree. I don't think he's a max player, which I heard rumors that he's looking for a max. But I still think he has a lot of potential.
Klay Thompson's
if Gordon Hayward's a max player, Klay Thompson's a max player.
Okay, I agree with that.
Yes. Klay Thompson's a very underrated defender. I remember, I think, last year in the playoffs, I think it was the playoffs where he got that, like, game-winning block on, I think, Chris Paul. I'm not sure if any of you remember that, or it was in my dreams. I have no idea.
When was that? I think I remember.
I don't remember that, but maybe he did. I don't know.
I remember.
Someone did block Chris Paul. I think there was a foul, too, if I remember. Okay,
I remember Chris Paul fouling Curry on a 3 and then no call.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. But then
Never forget.
But then same thing happened to Chris Paul. Same thing happened the other way, so it works both ways. Anyways,
we're also sleeping in the East. We're also sleeping on the Wizards. You never know about them. Yes,
They're
they're
not
young,
making the
but
finals. They're not making the finals.
they're not making the final, but I think
They can make the
sleeper teams
playoffs.
in the East are the
Definitely.
Raptors and the Wizards. I think they both can make a run. I just don't think they're better than the Bulls or the
Bobcats.
Cavaliers. The Bobcats, yes.
Hornets now, no longer the Bobcats.
They're gonna always be the Bobcats to me. I don't know why.
I
they
like
signed Lance.
Yeah,
Lance,
was
don't give him a Lance.
I don't know how Indiana let him go. I would overpay for Lance because considering Avery Bradley got like $32 million and Lance got I think somewhere around the same. That's like
They didn't want to go to the luxury tax.
I understand that, but I would rather get Roy Hibbert somehow and try to work my way getting Lance. I just don't think Roy Hibbert's worth keeping. I think he's a horrible contract in general. I understand the way.
Indiana's
Would you
not
trade
making the
Hibbert?
playoffs.
I
Would you
think
trade Hibbert or West?
No, I would keep West. West is a good locker room guy and he produces. Hibbert has potential, but some days he'll put up 20 points and 10 rebounds, and then the next 5 games
He's
he'll put up
streaky.
0 rebounds and 0.
Yeah.
Do you remember his playoffs? He had 2 rebounds in 10 games.
Yeah.
It was pathetic. If I was 7, I'm pretty sure Hasheem Thabeet played better than him at that time.
Honestly, we could have thrown in Greg Oden with one knee and he could have played better.
Probably he could have. Okay,
I don't get how he was an all-star over Al Jefferson, who was like a top 3 center last year.
Exactly.
Right. That was robbed, and I don't know how certain players in this league are like. I remember one of our fans commented how Hibbert was the most dominant center in the league. I just couldn't stop laughing. But other than that, I think we had a good podcast, guys. That was awesome. I think we're gonna end it now.
One quick question.
Yes. Yes.
Who's gonna win the MVP?
Ooh,
I'm
Next
gonna
time. Next time. Discuss it next time.
Next time.
Make all the fans watch us.
Alright.
Quiet.
Next
Alright,
time
I'll
around,
go
we'll have the
guys.
MVP.